Doc, this next question, I want you to be very, I know it's very forthright, but I need to stress that. This push to change President Tinubu, is it truly because it's not good for Nigeria because of his performance in the past 3 years, or the North just simply wants power? Because some parts of Nigerians believe the North sees presidential power as their birthright. Which is it?
I just told you the story.
Exactly.
If the Northern Elders Forum, at that time, and we still are, we were the conscience of the North. We were the voice of the North. We campaigned for President Buhari against Jonathan. Northern Elders Forum, from 2012 until 2015, Northern Elders Forum was in the forefront of campaigning against Jonathan and for Buhari, because we genuinely believe Buhari, tough guy, tough former military, he will get rid of Boko Haram. At that time, Boko Haram was the only existential threat against this country. He will fix corruption. He's not corrupt. He's not going to steal people's money. And we campaigned for him, not because he was a northerner, but because we believed that genuinely the man was good enough. Within 1 year, we had parted ways with Buhari. It was very clear. All he wanted was to become a president. 4 years later, we rallied around other sociocultural groups and said to Nigerians and the world, Buhari is bad news. And we were northerners. We said, don't vote for Buhari again. No, this man, if he comes back, another 4 years for Buhari will be disastrous for the rest of Nigeria, not just for the North. And we were right. So why on earth would we say to northerners or Nigerians, don't vote for Tinubu purely because he's from the southern part of the country? If Tinubu had done well, Tinubu was a product of the North.
Yes.
The votes that gave Tinubu victory came from the North. Why on earth? We're not stupid. Why on earth would we say to northerners and southerners, don't vote for Tinubu because he will finish this country? We won't. We want a good government. We want a good leader. And if Tinubu is not good enough for another 4 years, we would offer no apology to anybody. We will say, don't give him another 4 years. If he's a northerner, we would do the same thing. We did this with Buhari.
Brilliant. You came out a few days ago to state clearly, unequivocally, that Mr. Peter Obi and former Governor Rabiu Kwankwaso approached your party, the PRP, for them to fly, make their presidential bid on your party. And they demand certain guarantees, that maybe the ticket will be given to them on the platter and all of that. Can you expatiate briefly on this?
I was asked if it is true that Peter Obi and Senator Kwankwaso approached our party and was engaged in discussions, and I said yes. There was no point lying about it. There was nothing to hide in it. Parties talk to parties, politicians talk to parties. And we spent a number of days engaged in discussions. First, me and them, and me as chairman and them. And then we set up teams. We discussed whether it is possible for them to get automatic tickets, whether there are positions where if they come in, they have huge followings, they can get positions. We discussed a number of things related to how, if they are on board, we can help to work to get them elected. And in the end, I think we also discussed a number of challenges facing the party. At that time, INEC had not uploaded my name and the rest of the executive on their website. Yes. And also that there are some people saying, no, they don't recognize me as leader, or they don't recognize the convention. They are the true PRP people. That's part of our tradition as PRP, by the way. We've always lived with the strangers. Yeah. Anyway, in the end, they said, well, thank you for tolerating us all this long. We thought very deeply about this collaboration we could have had with you, but we're sorry to say we're moving on. But thank you for being kind and to engage us. And we said, no problem at all. Thank you too for looking up at us And we were sure we would meet again. And I'm sure we would meet again. Defeating Tinubu will require collaboration and some kind of alliances. And that's why we're not burning any bridges. We are friends with Governor Peter Obi and Senator Kwankwaso. We are friends with their party. And I'm sure somewhere along the line we will find reason to collaborate.
You didn't quite confirm whether they demanded for a presidential pass. That just hand it to them. Secondly, I also heard from Grapevine that in addition to that, they also said some of the position on the NWC should be, they will replace your men on the NWC. So I need you to confirm.
These are politicians. Anybody who has been following Nigerian politics would know. Anywhere you see Peter Obi and Senator Kwankwaso going to another party, there's only one thing. Why do you think they left DC? It was the quarrel. Well, the quarrel was about presidential tickets. So when they come, we are not exactly naive. We know this would say they would say, we can't be number twos to anybody. We can't be number ones. The two of us that you see here is already the number one and two, and so we would like assurances that will be. It's natural, and we were prepared for this, and we gave them our answer. We have a democratic way. Our party insists that there are democratic ways through which flag bearers should emerge. And we reminded them that we don't have the power to waive those requirements, constitutional requirements. And we didn't have any candidates better than them. And it's quite possible if they had stayed.
They might have emerged.
They might have emerged. But to give a guarantee wasn't ours. The party was not property of the leadership. Not mine, not the leadership. So we made that very clear. The other issue about positions, of course, you have to understand that. They want their own people in a party they are now members. So, again, like I said, it wasn't surprising. There was nothing unusual about the request they made. People asked me why they left, and that's why I mentioned it, in the interest of complete honesty. And like I said, we parted as friends, and we're still friends.
Fair enough. Now, Doc, has there been any lines, red lines, that this government, the government of President Tinubu, any lines they've crossed that, made you so disappointed or, gives you serious concern about the future of this country? In terms of insecurity, in terms of the economy, in terms of rule of law, democracy, and all of that?
Many. The first is security. We have no business being this insecure. And President Tinubu had all the opportunity, all the powers in the world to turn the tide that was left by Buhari. He didn't. We are more insecure now than we were in 2023. Millions and millions of Nigerians are poorer now than they were in 2023. Millions and millions of farmers have stopped growing, either because they've lost their farms or because incompetent and poor economic policies have made it just not worthwhile to grow anything, because this government flip-flops over policy. Sometimes you spend a year cultivating something and you find that the price is half of what it was last year. So people don't farm. A huge number of our farming populations don't farm. Farms go uncultivated because they are not secure. And I think the level of disunity in this country is more intense because this administration has benefited from fault lines. They have deepened them. This idea that you are this, you are not from this area, you are this from, they never attempted to address why we quarrel about who we are. Why should my faith and my religion, my ethnicity, where I come from, become a problem in the way we work? We have coexisted for 100 years. They have been managed that. So there are multiple red lines. But the most important one is the level of incompetence in governance. I have never seen a government so incompetent than this one. Just simply tolerating declines without putting forward policies and measures that can at least mitigate insecurity, poverty, and the drift towards breakup of this country.
I'm sure, Doc, you were referring to a video a viral video circulating where Senator Rabiu Kwankwaso allegedly issued some threats against a public affairs analyst.
Well, he made comments about Professor Usman Yusuf that many people will interpret as threats, and I think it was unfortunate. It's out of character, and I think Professor Usman Yusuf has a reason to feel threatened. My advice was invite his attention to the fact that this is unbecoming of somebody aspiring to be a vice president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and perhaps it will work. But I think the political atmosphere will get even more threatening in the next few weeks, and we must all be careful. If you want to be better than Tinubu, then you have to operate at a standard higher than President Tinubu's standards.
As we wind down, Doc, you warned that rigging in 2027, rigging the elections in 2027 would carry dire or severe consequences. What are the opposition parties or figures? What are you guys willing to do to ensure the elections next year are not rigged and that the votes of Nigerians will count?
Well, first, we're sensitizing our supporters to go out in numbers and vote. Anything that suggests that it is a good tactic to avoid or boycott the elections because you think that the government will rig this election is counterproductive. In fact, government will be very happy to have an election which is boycotted by people who suspect that the election will be rigged. So virtually all the opposition parties are united on this point. Go out and vote. Vote in large numbers and raise your level of vigilance. Follow the process all the way through. 2, we are demanding, when we raise our voices, that INEC must leave a vote. A lot of people are saying there are already signs or things that INEC shows on the ground that INEC will not be free and fair. And we're saying, well, INEC is the only body in the country that will conduct this election. Isn't it better to say to INEC, don't destroy this country? If you help or botch the election or help in its rigging, you could actually signal massive damage to this country from which it will not recover. 3, we're talking to the international community. We're saying to countries that love our country, please talk to our leaders. Impress upon them that 2027 will make a great difference on whether we survive or not. And it's in your own interest too for Nigeria to continue to survive as one country. If this country breaks down or breaks out, 250 million people, the whole of the world will feel it. And I'm telling you, not just West Africa, Europe, you would have 30 or 50 million Nigerians knocking on the door of Europe. We would flood the whole of Sahel. Nigeria's breakup, it will be a disaster of unimaginable consequences. So it's in the global community's
Enlightened self-interest.
Yes, to talk to our leaders and to say, be careful and keep an eye on it. Don't just warn them. Keep an eye on it. Finally, we're appealing to President Tinubu directly and in manners like this. We want to say to him, you wanted to be president. You were president in 2024. Allow free and fair and credible election to decide whether you've done well enough in the last 4 years to warrant Nigerians voting for you in a free and fair and credible election. Don't go down in history as the president who destroyed this country by doing things that would suggest that you want to come back at all costs. 2015, a president was defeated and he conceded. He was just a Nigerian like you. He wanted to win. He worked hard to win. He didn't win. The vote said he didn't win. The heavens didn't fall. If President Tinubu wins a credible, free and fair election, we will submit, we will accept the results. And Nigerians will accept the result. If he doesn't, it is in his own interest to yield to the will of the people and to accept the results. I don't even want to contemplate what would happen if Nigerians in huge numbers perceive or see evidence that this election was rigged. I don't even want to go there.
Interesting. Final question, Prof. Last time you and I met, we were there was high optimism that yes, opposition have a fair chance of defeating the president. Has anything happened since then and now to water down that optimism? Do you see any scenario where in a free contest, in a proper contest, the opposition can actually unseat the president, or it's a foregone conclusion? We should just allow him have his second term.
No, on the contrary. Between the last time we spoke and now, I think the chances that the opposition parties, either one of the opposition parties or opposition parties working together, can defeat this government, the chances are brighter.
Even with the rupturing of the coalition, the ADC and all of that.
See, ADC is a party. It's made up of people. The key issue is to prevent the return of this government because it doesn't deserve to come back.
Yes.
Because if it comes back, it can't offer anything different from what it did in the last 4 years. And that means Nigeria will be doubly worse off. I'm not sure we can stand another 4 years of this level of incompetence, indifference, and abuse. And so this is really the rallying point. This is the rallying call. I think opposition has an excellent chance of working together to defeat Tinubu. And it can be done.
Some have argued that the best chance was this, opposition political figures rallying together, working together, burying their individual egos to make sure they achieve this. And that now that they've splintered, it's a repeat of 2023. They will splinter their votes. What's your take on this?
People vote, not politicians. Politicians are important because they mobilize people in directions. But it's not politicians that vote, it's people. And the biggest opposition that Tinubu has is not politicians, it's not political parties like us, it's the people. This election is about APC versus Nigerian people. That's really what is going to happen. Nigerians will, one by one, put their ballots in to say no or yes to Tinubu, and more of them are likely to say no. So he can do what he wants with all these politicians. The people can see, they know what is going on. They think, they know why he is damaging the opposition, but he's not damaged. He has damaged the people long before he damaged these politicians. And the day of the people will come. So I think that we have bright chances of success. Success determined as putting an end to the Tinubu administration. I see good signs of some level of some form of collaboration of opposition parties. This is one of the things people don't tell you. You can destroy people's home, but you can't destroy the people.